Hang on a second. The Zoom broadcast should be starting now. And okay, anytime you're ready.
I'm ready. Let's go. Call this meeting to order. Regular meeting of the Town Plan and Zoning Commission, Thursday, June 25th, 2020. First item on the agenda, actually two sets of minutes. Minutes of April 30th. Have a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Moved, seconded. Any corrections, omissions, additions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Chair opposed? Chair votes aye. Minutes of May 20. Have a motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
Have a second. Moved and seconded. Any additions, omissions?
Yes.
Ms. Splint?
On page 1, it looks like the second paragraph under number 3, public hearings. He stated at the very bottom of that second paragraph, he stated all issues from the last TPZ meeting has been addressed, have been addressed,
Yep.
and complied with instead of compiled with.
Oh, yep.
I missed. Oh, I'm getting slow. Anything else?
Got it.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Oh, did you have more? I think Katie had another.
Just
Yeah.
one.
Okay, no, go.
Page
you
2,
got-
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs down, Chairman Burson asked, are they inspected by the town and are there other agencies that will do the inspections? That's all I've got.
Got it.
Okay, yeah. Anyone else? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Minutes are approved. Next item is a public hearing, a request by Peter Damali. I'd ask the planner to please read the legal notice.
Sure. Give me a sec. Get on the right screen here. Yeah, posted on the Town of Bloomfield webpage on June 10th, 2020. Legal notice, Town of Bloomfield Town Planning Zoning Commission. Notice is hereby given that the Town Plan and Zoning Commission will conduct public hearings at a meeting to be held on June 25th, 2020, commencing at 7 p.m. via the Zoom meeting platform to consider the following. 1, the request by Peter Damali, President, Design Professionals Incorporated, for a text amendment to the zoning regulations to change the maximum height from 35 to 40 feet in the POD zone. And the interested persons may appear and they could view the application material on our website. And I'm going to
use our. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just going to promote. Go ahead. I'm going to promote the applicants.
Okay, we'll conduct this as our usual public hearing format. We'll have a presentation by the applicant, report from the town planner, questions from any in attendance, questions from the commission, comments from the audience, and comments from the commission, and the applicant will have one last chance to wrap it up. Who's here to make the presentation for the applicant?
I think it's David.
Attorney David Barham is going on first.
All right, let me make sure I unmute him first. You bear with me. That's just well, does he have video? David, I think you might have to unmute yourself. I've been hitting unmute. There you go.
Can you see me?
Do you have video or no?
Yes.
You got to turn it on then. There you go.
Is it on now?
It says it's on, but I can't see it. No, it's off now. You had it on briefly. No, still not on. You were on. I think I I don't see your video, David. Oh, yeah, you had something. It looks like it was flashing, but it's somehow.
Second, let me see if I can figure this out.
Yeah, it was flashing. You hit something and it flashed. The video icon flashed on my screen, but in any case, if you don't need to share your screen, you can talk and everybody can hear you and it's being recorded.
Can I tell them at this point, do I share a screen?
And Peter, are you going to be sharing the screen?
Yes, I am.
Okay, then I'll let's see how we do it.
If you can hear me, let me begin so I don't delay your hearing. I apologize. I don't know. Every time I hit the video, it's saying failed to start video. Please select another video camera and settings. So I don't.
Yeah. So Peter, you should be able to share your screen, hopefully, when it's your turn. All right, go ahead, David.
Let me start then. My apologies to everybody. I'm attorney David Barham, and I'm representing the applicant this evening. And the applicant is technically Peter Damali of Professional Designs, as the town planner suggested. But I just wanted to clarify that Peter Damali, myself, and Charlie Nyberg, who is the architect, represents another party named Corporate Crossing. And Corporate Crossing owns property at 580 Cottage Grove Road, which currently has a 2-story medical office building there. And they are the party of interest because in the near future, a significant application will be submitted for further development of that site, which will include hopefully a 3-story medical office building, as well as to the west of Philly Brook, some planned luxury apartments, 2 buildings consisting of 40 units. I'm giving you the context of this because, again, the genesis of this text amendment is really because of this proposed development in the future. I filed a conflict of interest disclosure form, which I hope all of you received, which lists the various consultants that will be representing Corporate Crossing. But nevertheless, we have permission from Peter Damali of Design Professionals to speak on his behalf, since he's actually the legal applicant. As I mentioned, Peter Damali, who has really taken the lead on this, has been working with staff for literally over a year and a half to discuss what the best plans for this site would be. His discussions actually go back to Tom Hooper when he was planner. That's how long that the discussions have taken place. And when we proposed our development plan, which would require some kind of a height adjustment for the proposed building, staff suggested that we come before TPZ to look at a text change instead of going to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a variance. I think that staff, and I'm sure they'll clarify it later, was interested in trying to provide some consistency in the town and just change the regulation. Because as you recognize, if you look at the picture that I can see on my screen, on Jolly Drive, you have a 3-story medical building now that received a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals to exceed the 35-foot height to, I believe, 40 feet, which would allow for a 3-story building. And as the town staff points out in their memo that was just given to you the other day, there are several other buildings on Northwestern Drive which also have the same issue, that they exceeded the 35-foot height. In addition to that, I believe in February of this year, your commission amended its regulations further to allow for multi-family residential buildings to exceed the 35-foot height as well in the planned professional office district. So based upon contemporary times and the needs of applicants who are planning to make these kinds of office buildings, which have been the hallmark of our town. As you know, Cottage Grove Road has been a major source of medical establishments, one that I think we're proud of and that we want to encourage. It seemed reasonable to ask for a text change because it would benefit the town to provide that consistency, avoid applicants from running to the zoning board of appeals, and thus we agreed as part of our application to go ahead and amendment. I'm getting a little feedback on my side, so I don't know if you two are getting some. Okay. So the text amendment, as you know, is to change section 4.2.b, the requirements, bulk requirements of the POD district to a maximum height from 35 to 40 feet. The corporate crossing site that you're looking at now is a beautiful site, and the proposed office building that we will be submitting in the near future will be north of the existing building, same kind of architectural style. And then to the west of Philly Brook, which is, I think, the left-hand side of your screen, will be two buildings, a 4-story, a 3-story for luxury apartments that will have a total of 40 units, 2-bedroom, 2 baths. It'll be serviced by an elevator and have many garaged units. The idea is to try and market these apartments both to a diverse group of people, young professionals, active adults who want this kind of living experience. The site was zoned, we believe, in 1989, and because of the pandemic, I was unable to get to the zoning office, but I believe that there may have been 2 buildings proposed at the time, but for some reason, the owners just went ahead with 1 building. Probably your chairman, Mr. Burson, would recall what that involved back in '89. So what we're proposing is certainly consistent with what was proposed many years ago. We took our proposal for the height change along with the entire master plan to the Bloomfield Economic Development Commission, and on May 12th, they heard a full presentation and unanimously endorsed actually the entire project, which included the height change, the zone change on the westerly side to a PLR zone for the luxury apartments, parking, and the master plan. But most importantly, they were in support of the height change. And then I know that you have received from your town planner a letter from Prague, which indicates that there are no conflicts with any regional plans or policies if you were to approve this change. And of course, you have your memo from the planner dated June 18th, which again, hopefully, verifies what I'm saying, giving you a little bit of the context and history for the proposed text change, which again was to provide some consistency. When I talk about consistency, I would like to just take a moment and share with you some existing provisions of your regulations that maybe you have forgotten about or maybe you're well aware of. Starting with the professional office district, as you know, the height limitation is 35 feet, which is why we're here to ask for a mere increase of 5 feet to 40. And as I alluded to earlier, you approved an amendment to the POD zone as outlined in the staff memo, allowing for multifamily buildings in the zone to go to four stories or 60 feet in height. So you have already had some experience with this zone in changing it. I also looked at other zones like the Bloomfield Center District, and I noticed that by special permit, office buildings can go 4 stories for, I believe, up to a 50-foot height. I also looked at the general industrial zone, the I-1, and their office buildings are allowed to go to the 60-foot height as well. And of course, what I pointed out earlier with the Zoning Board of Appeals, that a number of buildings have been permitted to exceed the 35-foot height, which I think gives credence to our proposal that we just amend the bulk requirement and increase the height to 35, from 35 to 40, which again is reflective, in my opinion, based on more contemporary building styles for medical and office buildings in general. And Charlie Nyberg is going to talk a little bit about the building aspects that would be important for a 40-foot height building, and in his experience, what other towns have permitted in this regard as well. So we're excited about this project. This is could be a substantial development for the town of Bloomfield, and we were happy to collaborate with staff in proposing this text amendment so that from staff's perspective, we could provide a more contemporary bulk requirement and more reflective of what is really happening in the area of medical office buildings, which again have been so successful for our town. In fact, the 2-story building that currently exists on our site has been fully occupied for many years. And in fact, the town's own health district has its office there as well. So for us to encourage more medical development along the Cottage Grove Road corridor, which has been a source of strength and pride for our community, we think that this will not only help our development, but will help promote further growth for the town of Bloomfield as well. So with that little introduction, I would like to introduce Charlie Nyberg, who is the architect. Hopefully you'll be able to see him. And Charlie, I'll let you take over if Jose can figure out how to get you on the screen.
He has to mute himself, I guess.
I am unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can see you also.
Oh, wonderful, because I can't see me either. Anyway, this is all new. Yeah, I'm Charlie Nyberg. I'm with Shadler Cell now in Farmington at 5 Waterville Road. My experience over the last 10 or 15 years has been working with my client in Farmington Metro Realty and Development, who has developed a corridor of buildings off of Route 4 and Birdseye to the west of the Medical Dental Center in Farmington. And we've done about, I would say, 7 buildings of at least a number of them have been 3-story, and a couple of those have been 2, and a fair amount of medical office fit outs within those buildings. And what I would like to do is just offer up my thinking as to why we would be going after the increase of height from the 35 to the 40 feet. The 35-foot building, in my experience, really doesn't easily provide for a comfortable 3-story building, given suitable floor-to-floor heights of perhaps, as we've noted in our renderings, about a 13-foot 4 first to second floor, a 12-foot 8 height on the second to the third floor, and then something in the order of 13 feet to the top of the roof steel. These buildings will have flat roof. This building, in our case, and in the case of most of these sites, would have a flat roof, which would pitch to internal roof drains, and therefore you do need some consideration for that roof pitching back into the building to have internal drains to grade and to site drainage. You factor into that the mechanical systems, the HVAC system, the plumbing, the electrical lighting, and the sprinkler systems that go in these buildings, and then having suitable heights for ceilings in lobbies, procedure rooms, what have you. It really doesn't work with a 35-foot height. And for example, what I did was to take, if you utilize a 13-foot first to second floor and a 13-foot to top of roof steel plus decking, insulation, and what have you, you would end up with having about a 28-foot height to grade, which then only leaves you 7 feet for a third floor, which is clearly not sufficient. My thinking of the 35 feet is that really does allow for a 2-story building that could have a pitched roof. You take your run of an eave to a ridge, take half that height, and now you're somewhere at maybe 32 to 33 feet, and that gives you a 2-story building with a pitched roof. And some of the buildings that I've noted, and I could believe off of Jolly, have pitched roofs. I'm not sure whether they're one or two stories, but in any event, a couple of the buildings that we have done in Farmington are 2-story, and they have a pitched roof, and that falls into that category of a 35 to 36 foot average height between the eave and the roof pitch. The other thing that happens with this is, and it's happened with this site, and Peter can go over that in terms of history, is that by allowing a 3-story building in lieu of just a 2-story, one can adjust one's footprint. So if you're able to build, let's say, X thousand square feet, you can put that over 3 floors, gain some site area back for parking, maybe have setbacks. So it really is a function of you give a developer in a POD zone some more latitude with what he can do with his site and not be just restricted to a 2-story building. And I really do believe that it's a plus for Bloomfield to be able to have this increase in height. It allows a developer in a POD zone to have a greater latitude of design, of site design and interior design to get a project that would be worthy of you folks in Bloomfield. So be happy to answer any questions, but that's my experience, and I do strongly recommend that you do approve the text amendment for the 40-foot height. Thank you.
I don't know if you can hear me, it's David Barham. I would like to introduce Peter DeMalley of Design Professionals, who will also make a few comments.
I'm unmuted now, as I understand it. Chairman Burson, yes, for the record, I'm Peter DeMalley, President of Design Professionals. We've been engaged by Corporate Crossing to provide civil engineering, land planning, landscape architecture, and land surveying services. And we've been working with them for over a decade. Our 20-acre site, roughly 20-acre site, is far from fully developed. And we do indeed have a plan for it to reach its quality potential and development in a mixed-use pattern that's residential and office. And we think that'll inure to the benefit of the town of Bloomfield, its residents, the business community, and our clients' Corporate Crossing ownership, as well as future tenants, including some tenants of the existing building, some of whom have expressed interest in expanding And we can only do that because the current building is fully occupied. We can only do that in the event we get this second office building approved. I'd like to just summarize what we're proposing. And of course, this will only go forward if the commission sees fit to approve our application for modest 5-foot increase in the building height from the 35 to 40 feet, as Attorney Barham has mentioned, and also Mr. Nyberg, the architect. What we're proposing is that the office building, which is in the professional office district, have a companion office building to the north side of it. So yeah, we're going over what you're seeing now is a color exhibit of the development. We're going to focus on the office part first, which is the easterly portion of it. And so just over 30 years ago, the then developers were proposing this companion building. It wasn't exactly in the shape and it wasn't exactly the size. Indeed, it was a little bit larger. We believe the site can support this size building, which is roughly 43,000. Well, the first building is 43,800 square feet. And the second building, which is the impetus for this text amendment, is to do a 3-story medical office building, as Mr. Nyberg has described, 48,770 square feet in size, which is, again, what the site will support. The parking lot will be expanded and improved appreciably. We'll add parking proximate to the entrance drive, we're a drop-off drive. There's parking on the west side of that. There's really no parking there at this time to serve the existing building. So we'll add some parking convenient for the main entrances to both buildings. We'll also be adding an access point to the parking lot on the south side of the existing building. As you come in from corporate, from Cottage Grove Road, you'll be able to take a right into the main parking lot. And then, of course, that will be a complete circumference around the parking lot and both buildings out on the north side of the new building and back to accommodate for the convenience of the public, but also to accommodate emergency vehicle apparatus. So we'll be improving that situation. Right now, presently, there's only one entrance between what is now between the two buildings, but on the north side of the existing building, that's the only way you can get back there to the existing parking lot. So we'll be substantially improving that and having a circumferential ability around both of the new buildings. And this new building will be, again, the northerly building will be opposite a building, advanced orthopedics building was just to the right of the colored building right there. That is a 3-story building, and which was done, as Attorney Barham mentioned, by virtue of a zoning board of appeals variance to exceed the 35-foot height so they could accommodate the 3 floors. And we're taking the tack that was recommended by Jose Geiner, and Mr. Geiner recommended that we not pursue a variance, that we go pursue a text amendment. If you feel that's appropriate, then we'll go that course. I'd like to move over to the left side or west side of the site. And you can see that we're proposing a separate access drive to serve that coming off of Cottage Grove Road, just to the west of our existing entrance drive. And with that, we're having 2 buildings, each of which will have 9 garage spaces in the building on the first floor, and also have either 3 or 4 stories in height. And they'll have 20 units that Mr. Nyberg has designed, which are all 2-bedroom and 2-bath apartments. So the first one, as you enter, there'll be a parking lot on the right and then a building on the left. As you can see that building, and then there'll be another drive will continue to the north. And on the east side of the drive, there will be a building with parking in front of it, and then a little bit parking beyond it, and then a cul-de-sac so emergency vehicles can turn around and other vehicles may come in there. And that will be a private driveway similar to what is accommodating the office development. So in order to do that, we'll be restricting or reducing the size of the planned the professional office district, POD district, to roughly 7 acres. And then the balance of the property, which is roughly 12.54 acres, will become the residential development. And that will be in the PLR zone, planned luxury residential district. which allows for the multifamily development. This overall economic development project, this mixed-use project, will roughly cost, and this number is a moving number target right now, but as our design advances, we'll be adjusting the costs. But roughly, we estimate the cost of this overall development is about $22.6 million, and $8 million for residential component, although a commercial broker with whom we've been consulting has told us that they projected it might cost as much as over 11 million. But right now we're using the lower number for that. So that's $8 million for residential component, about 14.6 million for the office component. We roughly estimate the property's annual property taxes. Right now for the existing building and parking lot, it's today it's $250,000, and we expect it'll go up to around $828,000, or a net gain of $578,000 per annum. And these, as I said, these numbers will be adjusted in their preliminary. In addition, we'll roughly estimate building permit fees of about $374,000. So we've been meeting with staff for the last 18 months, and that's Mr. Geiner, town engineer and deputy town engineer, wetlands officer, including a couple of field meetings with the wetlands officer, and the fire marshal and his assistant. And also we met one time with the town manager and staff. So if the commission does approve this text amendment application, we're prepared to submit the PLR zone change and a master plan for the overall development in the near term, probably this summer, most likely, and we'll be moving forward on this. So with this application I've submitted for the minor adjustment of 5 feet in height, building height, we can do this particular proposed development to utilize it to its potential, inuring, again, as I said previously, to the benefit of the town of Bloomfield, its residents, the business community, and also the benefit of the ownership group. So we'll be able to reach its potential. It's been 30 years since the first building was built, and it certainly has been underutilized, the site, and we aim to make it into a very high quality development that everyone can be proud of. And one other note is that the residential component, we believe, being right down the street from Cigna, the world headquarters of Cigna, with thousands of employees, it's even been expanding of late, and then also in relatively close proximity to Day Hill corporate area, as well as close proximity I-91, all the businesses along there, as well as downtown Hartford, and it's served by buses. That we feel that these luxury apartments will be in strong demand, and this mixed-use development makes a lot of sense from a planning perspective and economic development perspective as well. So I'm available. I know Mr. Nyberg and Mr. Barham are as well, but I think I'll turn it back to Mr. Barham, who's legal counsel for the project.
Thank you, Peter. Can I be heard by everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. While Peter was talking, I was playing around with my computer, but I still couldn't get the video on, and I was afraid to do anything drastic that I would be eliminated from the hearing. So my apologies again. So you've heard a little bit about the proposed project. You understand now the context of the proposed text amendment. But of most importance for tonight is the fact that we were requested by staff to seek a text amendment so that there could be more consistency in town and the regulations could be modified and revised to reflect some of the current challenges for medical office buildings as outlined by Charlie Nyberg in his presentation. So with that, I'll conclude my comments and just thank you for your consideration. And all three of us are here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Barham. I would like to make, before I ask for Mr. Geiner's comments, I would like to point out that to members of the commission that a lot of the information we just received was site-specific, and this zone text change will affect the zone wherever it is in town. I also would like to point out the financial data should have no decision. That's something, in my opinion, we're not allowed to dump into our hopper as we mull whether or not to approve an amendment. Mr. Guiner, anything to add to the discussion?
Not really. I think Attorney Barron pretty much read my memo. So it's just to point out that they would have to come back for special permit and master plan approvals. This is just for a height change right now.
Are there any attendees who have questions?
I believe the only attendees are the recording secretary and other applicants, professional representatives.
Any questions from the commission? Let's run down everybody. Whoever has a question, please.
Jose, I have one question.
Sure.
Do we have any input from fire on this height change? And we have greater heights, but
No, no, we don't have any input on the height change. I mean, the building next to it's already 40 feet plus, so I assume that
figure it's okay.
I figured it's okay. And plus there's a couple in off of Northwestern Drive that are medical buildings that are also 3 stories of height. So it's not something that they're not, I would imagine by this time they're prepared to be able to service.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
I had
All
one.
right, I also assume, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I had one question. It was regarding the note on the PLR that is expected to be a future submission.
Would you like me to address that?
Sure.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
you-
would.
Yeah.
Our very next application would be, Peter DeMelli again. Our very next application would be to this commission, TPZ, and it would be a zone change to the PLR, and I think we have to do an intermediate zone change as well. And then also with that will be the master plan for the overall development. We'll show the office development, the entire 20 acres, and the 2 residential buildings. That would be all on that application.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Flint? Mr. Lester? Okay, and I assume there are no comments from the audience because there's really no one there. Any comments from the commission? Oh, Mr. Mara?
Is he unmuted?
I'm unmuted now. No, I have no comments.
No comments, Barry.
Mr.
No
Millette?
comment. Oh, sorry.
No comments. Go ahead, Aaron.
We also have Mr. Bolton.
No comments.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And
Okay.
also, it's also Commissioner Adams is here also.
No comment.
Oh, I should have made a list as you read them off. My fault. Mr. Bolton, anything?
No, he already said no.
No comments, sir.
Okay, then moving on, back to the applicant. Do I have anything to wrap up?
I
Mr. Barrow?
don't have any further testimony unless there are any further questions.
Okay. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Moving, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Vote aye. All right, moving back to the agenda, we have before us a proposal by Peter DeMalley, President of Design Professionals, text amendment to the zoning regulation, change maximum height from 35 to 40 feet in POD zone. We have a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion for approval. I move to approve the request by Peter DeMalley, President, Design Professionals, Inc., for a text amendment to the zoning regulations to change the maximum height from 35 to 40 feet in the POD zone. Text change, if approved, will have an effective date of July 6, 2020.
You have a second?
I second it.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Moving on. Moving on, number 4, site plans. Number 1 is a revised site plan, 95 Granby. Granby Street, I guess. I'm sorry, by the LLC for Granby Street. Who's here to make that presentation?
Hang on, I have to promote them. Okay. Promote the panelists. And, Mr. TJ Baressi's here. And I'll unmute. TJ, I think you should unmute yourself. I know you're, and let's see.
Can you hear me?
Yes. And I'll try to see if I'll let you share the. Are you going to try to share your screen?
I will try. Yeah. So can you
Okay.
Can you see that right now on my screen?
No, hang on. I gotta. Okay, you should have a button that says share screen right now somewhere. If you're able to share your screen, you should click on that. And
All right. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
You see that?
Yes.
All right.
It's all
Okay.
black and okay.
Right. Let me just get a.
You may want to maximize it.
Oh, you know what I got to do?
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, you're sort of sharing the screen that also shows us.
Yeah.
You have to open up. If not, I think everybody has a set of plans that you can.
Well, I think the plans you have aren't the current ones.
Well, not the ones I posted, but I think there we go. I mean, we can sort of see that.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. For the record, my name is TJ Baressi. I'm a licensed engineer and land surveyor. I'm the principal owner of Baressi Associates in Windsor. I'm coming to you from my office right now, representing Marwan Yusuf, who is 95 Granby LLC, regarding a site plan revision application. Seeking a permit to allow the applicant to install additional parking with loading access and improved access for pedestrians to the existing building. The site was subject to a notice of violation recently that was resolved at the last in the wetland hearing. The application did require a wetlands permit, which we received on June 15th with some conditions of approval. Property is located at 95 Granby Street. This is the existing conditions plan that should be on your screen right now. It's located on the west side of Granby Street, just north of Toby. It's located in an I-1 zone, contains 2.00 acres. There's an existing 14,444 square foot building, which is shown in cream color, which was built in 1953. In the past, this building was mainly used for manufacturing. At one time, American Cam Company was there. They produced gears. Most recently, it was Gray and Pryor Manufacturing was in the building, and their main product was universal joints. Recently, the applicant purchased the building and property and is now using the building for retail and manufacturing. However, the existing parking does not comply with his uses, which is why we are here today for a site plan revision to increase the parking and parking lot to comply with the required parking for how he wishes to use the building. The brown area right in here is the existing paved area that exists there right now. Access is right off of Granby Street. There are two loading docks along the south side of the building. One in this area here and another one right here. I don't know if you can see the cursor moving on that. Existing concrete walk to the entrance at the front of the building. The west side of the building contains some old concrete storage bins, which were for the prior manufacturing uses. He does not use those today. Just past the paved area is processed stone and wrap that the applicant put down recently to improve the surface for accessibility to the loading docks and the building. There is some process wrap in the back of the building also, right in front of those storage bins, but we're proposing to remove that later, which I'll talk about later. The two uses he's doing, the retail is for furniture sales, which is in the front part of the building. The back part is manufacturing. He used the manufacturing part to assemble and repair furniture for the retail. He also has another business where he picks up vehicles in an auction. Then he brings them into the building and he prepares them to ship overseas for parts. Those are the two manufacturing uses and retail uses. Currently, there's 10 parking spaces available right in that brown area as shown. Topographically, wetlands do exist on the property. It's a horseshoe-shaped area of wetlands along the northwest and southerly property lines. They extend up about halfway to the property in an easterly direction. Wetlands were marked in the field by REMA Ecological Services. Our office surveyed their location and mapped them as shown on the plan. The grade of the property slopes westerly away from Granby Street and southwesterly. It's all sheet flow right towards the wetlands. There's an existing water course, intermittent water course in the wetlands, which basically serves as a drainage ditch. The runoff makes its way to that intermittent water course and then runs southerly to an existing 24-inch pipe that heads more southerly towards a drainage system in Toby Avenue. Although there's the grade to the north discharges onto our property, which goes into the wetland finger on the north side, and then that water too also makes its way to the water course and out to the pipe that runs southerly off the southerly property line. The flagged wetland area on the property is 0.49 acres. I'm going to try to switch screens here. Give me 1 second. Come on, TJ. All right. It's not working. Okay, here we go. Can you see that? Sorry for the delay. What's going on here?
Looks like it's something's done.
All right, here we go. Can you see that, folks?
Yes.
Okay, is that the plan? This is the layout plan, which would be sheet 4 on your set. Does the parking lot have that configuration on the plans you have? We should have a revision date of 6/5/2020.
Oops, got the wrong one on my hand. No wonder. Let me see. What No, that's not what I have. I don't know if the commissioner, if you submitted any paper plans.
I sent,
I know you sent them by email today, but did you, I don't think we had paper
All right.
plans to send out with the agenda packets.
All right.
So,
that was a miscommunication. I thought when I sent them for wetlands that you were gonna send everything.
yeah,
electronic. No worries, no worries.
yeah.
All right, what what we're looking to do is obviously extend the parking. We're gonna maintain the existing access off of Granby Street, which is a 24-foot wide access. That 24-foot wide access is gonna extend all the way to the end of the building. You're gonna have parking on both the north side and south side. We're going to the gravel area that was behind the west side of the building, behind those storage bins, that's going to be removed. The parking required, based on my calculations, which I now have recently learned I need to revise, was 41, with 10 spaces allowed to be deferred. So the plan you see in front of you has 31 spaces with 10 in reserve. However, I understand I need to revise that calculation. We also need not just parking and access, but we need reasonable access to the loading docks. If you look at the screen shot, which is not representative on the plans that you have in front of you, right opposite the loading docks, the pavement has been extended to about 95 to 100 feet. This would be to help tractor trailers maneuver and position themselves to the loading docks. We are unable to fit the WB50 template on there without additional pavement. If you look at the screen, there's a grass strip or a rectangular grass area between the two pavement extensions. When you drop the template on there, the template would go over that lawn area, which is proposed to be lawn and actually mitigative planting. If the commission requires us to have that template work, that would have to be changed to pavement, and the mitigative planting we show there would have to be relocated either on the other side of the brook or on the westerly side of the wetlands. We would have to go back to wetlands for reapproval on revising the mitigative planting. Parking, the walks revised to accommodate safe access to the buildings. The original site plan, the impervious surface on the original site plan back in the early 50s had 0.83 acres of impervious surface. Right now, if you go out there today with the pavement and wrap, there's 0.86 acres of impervious surface. The plan in front of you, which includes the building, parking, sidewalks, concrete dumpster pad, is 0.75 acres of impervious. So overall, it's a reduction in impervious. If we put the pavement in that grass area there to help facilitate the WB50 turning template, will probably be very close to what was originally approved or what exists today. The grading of the property, we're maintaining the same drainage and drainage pattern. We're having sheet flow away from the building and a positive flow away from the building. Be sheet flow off the edge of the pavement through a storm filter strip. A storm water management and calculations were not submitted just because we have a reduction in impervious surface. So everything goes to that one outlet pipe. So my position was we're going to reduce that flow based on reduction in the impervious surface. One of the conditions of approval by wetlands was to actually submit those calculations, which we're more than happy to do. He's also requesting a bioswale instead of that storm filter strip, which we've agreed to do per their condition of approval. As far as utilities, this building is served by MDC sewer and water. There's a hydrant right on the property. We're not proposing any new utilities or new lighting. We're going to utilize the existing lighting on the site right now. As far as vegetation, we're going to maintain the majority of the existing vegetation. Some vegetation was already removed. That was part of the notice of violation. He's not removing any more vegetation per the wetland approval. We are proposing mitigated planting per the wetland approval. We do have erosion controls proposed throughout, which were all reviewed and approved by wetlands. One of the other issues that came up with wetlands, and we had a couple site walks with Peter and building inspector. I forgot her first name. I think her last name is Rogers. Was the functionality of that intermittent water course. The existing RCP that runs off the property had a broken end and it was blocked. There was some natural debris in the intermittent water course. There was looked like an old man-made footbridge that collapsed in the water course. So a lot of the water was getting dammed up and ponding on the north side of the property. So one of the other conditions of approval and agreement with the Wetlands Commission was to carefully and sensitively go in there, clean out the and clear the intermittent water course and repair the existing RCP outlet pipe so it can function and drain the water as it is meant to do. We received comments from the town planner. The only couple of comments I'll make is he wanted more landscaping. If I can pull up my grading plan. We do show 4 new trees. 3 of them are out front near the entrance. There is a legend for that tree. It's your typical maple trees, a tree. The existing foundation plantings along the front of the building and the southerly side of the building were proposed to keep and upgrade a little bit. So if you feel we need more landscaping or more trees or something, let us know. The parking calculations, that was an error on my part. I misread one of the footnotes in the regulations. So according to Jose, we need, I think, 46 spaces. I have to look at his report again. But whatever is required, we're obviously going to do what we have to make sure that we, here's the grading plan. Here's the trees, a couple of trees out front. And if you look all the way over to the right side of your sheet, which I believe is sheet number 5, there's a little planting legend there. It says what kind of tree that's going to be. This shows the mitigated planting. As you can see on your screen, there's some mitigated planting in that little lawn area between the 2 bump outs. If we extend that pavement in that area to help facilitate the WB50 turning template, some of that mitigated planting would have to be relocated, which is feasible, if you ask me. That's it for now. All the other comments were pretty common and more than happy to comply with them. At this point, I'll try to answer any questions to the best of my ability. It does not look like the applicant is online. I did call him a few times because there was a couple questions I actually had, but was unable to get through to him.
There's someone on that is 860 with the last 3 the last 3 numbers on the phone is 986. If they could identify themselves. So we know
that's not him.
No, but
that's not his cell phone, anyways.
But still
just listening in on your meeting.
Who's this?
Robert.
Pardon?
Robert Dickinson.
Oh, okay. Because we just, for the record, need to identify you. Okay, so that wasn't him.
Okay.
I'll leave this, Jose.
Pardon?
I'll leave this plan up.
Okay.
Any comments, Mr. Geiner?
I think you have your memo. There was a few comments that were given by the town engineer that I included in my conditions of approval. One of the issues that came up, and I had this sort of an email discussion with our town attorney, was whether or not what they were proposing to do in the back constituted outside storage, which would require a special permit or vehicles, or was it a parking area, which are regulations allowed by site plan. I think when we first saw this, I think Mike Casella and myself thought this was more of a parking area, subject to site plan review. One of the questions I think that I have, that as a result of the conversations with the town attorney, is the vehicles that are processed in the back and parked. TJ, do you know how long they're going to be there for at any given time?
No, but I will say this, I've been to the site multiple times and I've never seen the same vehicle there twice. I've seen the vehicles inside the warehouse. He actually cuts them in half and somehow boxes them up and to ship them out for parts. Okay. So no, I can't definitively say, but I'm sure he would bring in, process, send out, bring in, process, send out, just a small number at a time to keep things moving and going. Like I said, I've been there surveying. I did a full topo survey of the property, did the boundary, did everything. I've never seen, and he's been doing this operation while we've been preparing the plan and seeking approval to do it. I've never seen the same vehicles there twice. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, I mean, there's no good differentiation in I think in our definitions by that. So it's really up to the commission to say whether or not they feel this is just a parking area, and it really doesn't matter that much, because you're viewing it today, and you can impose whatever conditions, extra conditions you may want as a commission on how long.
Right. Okay, any questions from the commission? Anybody?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
This is Dwight. Jose, the drawings, the site plan that I'm looking at now on the screen from TJ, has the deputy engineer seen these drawings?
No, she hasn't. I know Peter has, or, for wetlands, he's reviewed it, and he's with the engineering department. Our deputy engineer has been out on medical leave for well over a month right now, so she hasn't been able to see these at all. And I think our town engineer, I believe he's seen these, but and he basically just, I take that back. I don't think he's seen that, because when I communicated with him last week, he thought they hadn't responded yet since the original memo from the deputy town engineer, but they did revise the plans for wetlands, and if we do approve it, we definitely need to cite the revision date, the current revision date, which is what again? Is it TJ?
6/5/20.
5/20. Jose, are they required to tell us how many spots they're going to have for the vehicles that they're going to be processing, but need to keep in those parking spaces for whatever the duration is? Are they required to tell us of the 46, will it be 5, will it be 10? And that there's going to be, based on the regs, signage, spaces stipulating that therefore, the use of the vehicles that are being processed?
Yeah, the vehicles that are going to be processed, the spaces for them have to be above and beyond the minimal parking spaces for the various uses. I mean, the various uses are there for people that may be using the building and coming in and out, clients. I think the processing spaces, and correct me if I'm wrong, TJ, are not included in the minimum parking, right?
The minimal parking is based on the required parking based on the square footage of
right
the manufacturing part and the square footage of the retail part.
But there's no way we would know if those spaces were being used.
For people working in the manufacturing? And
No, the part that he's sawing up.
you broke up, I'm sorry.
I think you said that your revised count would be 46 spaces based on the formula for the zone. So
Right.
if he puts in the 46 spaces and he really only needs about 20, we have no idea how much personnel is in there. If he started bringing in cars, he's going to saw up into be able to keep track of it. If it's all of a sudden he had 90 cars on the site, I guess we would know, but it doesn't appear that they're there long enough.
Right, and vehicles he brings in, it's safe to say they won't be registered. And so if you have 10, 20 unregistered vehicles on a piece of property, that's a problem. And I don't think allowed, to be honest with you. So I think that's why it's safe to say his intent would be bring in, 2 or 3, process them, send them out. Maybe the next time he brings in 4, process them, send out. And it is a tight site. So having, 20 vehicles there lined up, to process, to send out, I don't think he can feasibly do. Because, like I said, you got to get. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would agree with the assessment. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to get tractor trailers in there. So I've walked in up and down the inside of that building. I've met with him. I've watched the process a little bit. There's just like 2, maybe 3 people in the manufacturing part, and most of the work that I've seen them doing at the time that I was there was furniture work, unwrapping couches from shrink wrap that were delivered to put on the showroom floor, stuff like that.
And what saw to cut up cars?
What's that?
I said one big circular saw to cut cars up.
Yeah. So
however,
the parking area on the northerly side, adjacent to the manufacturing end, I would figure that would be for employees in the manufacturing end, which would be sufficient based on what I've seen there. The other spaces on the south side, opposite the manufacturing, are shown as reserve. Number one, because he just doesn't have that many employees for that size of a manufacturing area, and they would be used at a last resort. It'd be nice to keep open for the tractor trailers to swing and jackknife themselves into those spaces as best. I'm sure it's not an easy maneuver, but I did speak with somebody who was related to Gray and Pryor, which was the owner of Gray and Pryor was part of the King construction family. And he did tell me the way the things work back there with those storage bins and all that kind of stuff. And I said, did you have tractor trailers go up to those 2 loading docks? He said, yeah. I said, oh, okay. And then during the wetland meeting, George Logan of Rema Ecological Services had some old aerial photographs, and it appeared from back in the 60s and 70s that where the edge of the tree line is right now, they had like vehicles and they utilized that area for access and parking, which is above and beyond what was the proposed parking area on the original site plan in 1952. So even they figured, in order to access these loading docks, we have to kind of push things south as much as we can without getting into the wetlands, which I think they did. So.
Right. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, I have go ahead.
Okay. I I had a question regarding the impervious coverage. I'm trying to understand how it would be reduced with it. It seems like there's an increase in the pavement and the building is the same size, or?
Right, but of the original site plan back in 1952, the process and wrap area, I calculate as impervious because I have to treat it as impervious with the drainage calculations. So there was an area in the back part behind these storage bins, and which swung around southerly, which was all processed stone. So that whole area is being taken out.
Okay, so that's the reduction. And the rest was considered impervious already.
Right.
Okay, all right, that helps.
If you think about it, this is a site plan revision, but for the most part, it's a site plan restoration, kind of restoring it back to what it originally was back in the early, except that area behind the west end, those concrete storage bins for scrap metals and whatnot, is being taken out and being added as these little bump outs where the loading docks are. You know, based on my numbers, we have 0.75 acres right now, which includes these bump outs. And in the past, it was a little bit over 0.83 acres. I mean, so it's close. And I think if we extend that pavement to help out those the swing room for the WB50s, yeah, maybe we'll exceed what was originally there. But I need to do a stormwater analysis anyways, so I would have to address it.
And where does that leave us with the lot coverage then? Oh, I see it. Does it go further to the south?
So the total lot coverage, parcel, I mean, the building, pavement, concrete, processed stone is 35.9%.
Okay.
Right now, as proposed in front of you on the screen.
Okay. And then for the regulations, the question of are we actually storing unregistered vehicles in those spaces? And if those are storage spaces, I think they do have, if I was just quickly looking, I think they are supposed to be, or we could require that they be marked specifically for that.
Okay.
I'm looking at the bulk, or the general requirements. I just want to make sure that I was reading that correctly. The basic standards. And that might be a question for Jose, I don't know. I think it was 611.
Yeah, and I think it's, yeah, we probably should have a designated area, I think, just to this answer, you know, to sort of alleviate some of the concerns that Chair had. And I think it's the back. We should have a defined area as to where they can store or park these vehicles that are waiting to be processed, depending how you look at it, whether they're parking area or storage area. I think storage implies a longer term, but so TJ, do you know if there was a specific area that your client had in mind?
No, but if I was going to suggest, I would actually say that parking area on the north side, right opposite, you know, right next to, adjacent to the building, simply because putting them on the other side would make it challenging for the tractor trailer to get in and out if there's vehicles there.
Well, if the commission wishes, we could probably add another condition saying that, you know, you got to show a defined area on your final plan submitted for signature. So,
Okay.
So I mean, we don't want it, you know, there's the property doesn't look too good right now, and I understand that the reason for coming in for site plan and wetland approval was to try to correct some of the issues that we've had with that. So I just would like something more defined so we don't run into the same problems. And if we start seeing vehicles that are not supposed to be where they are, we'll have a clear record and a clear plan to go by that we can say, look, this is what we agreed to. You can't exceed, you can't park vehicles elsewhere besides those areas.
So,
Vehicles that are going to be processed.
Yeah.
and so considering the not allowing storage of unregistered, if we're going to say it's just parking, how do we, is there a time limit that would differentiate the two?
I don't think we have a good, clear definition of that in our regulations. So, you know.
Is that something we would put as a possible condition or reasonable?
Not having the applicant here, I don't know what the turnaround time is for any given. I would imagine pardon?
I was going to say, based on testimony, they're not there long enough to, you know, they come in and they're gone by the next day.
Yeah, and
so apparently there's a turnover. Of course, if you have 7 cars in 7 days all in the same spot, that's the equivalent of 1 car for 7 days also. So, but I don't know how you would actually define that area. It's to his own best interest to have it where Mr. Marisi has suggested.
Just because it's out of the swing room of the tractor trailers.
Right.
Oh, those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mara, do you have some questions?
Yeah, along the same lines. Mr. Millett picked up a lot of my thoughts, but you're going to have some number of cars located on this lot for processing. And are they processed on this lot in this building?
Yes.
Is there any facility in the building for catching oils and wastes and things like that that may be leaked out during this processing?
I can't say definitively because I don't know definitively, but the manufacturing process that took place in the past obviously had cutting oils and things like that were utilized. So I imagine there is some sort of maybe floor drain catch system that serves that purpose.
Did you talk about the processing of these cars with the wetlands?
Yes.
So they know that there may be mechanical work being done in the building?
Yes, and yeah, in fact, I told them that they actually cut the cars in half.
And you don't have, they didn't require any sort of sumps or catch basins or anything specifically to catch any mechanical wastes?
No, never came up in conversation, actually.
And then these cars are all unregistered, they're towed in or brought in to the site?
Correct.
And how many will be there at any one time?
I don't know. I mean, when I've been there before during this past few months, I've seen 3 or 4 there. Sometimes 2, sometimes 6, sometimes 3. It's inconsistent. And now maybe when I get there, sometimes he's already shipped some out. Maybe another time when I got there, they just came in.
But it's an ongoing business.
Excuse me?
It's an ongoing and recurrent part of his business.
Yes. Yeah.
What does he do with the waste? Does he send the entire car just chopped in half?
Yes.
Does he doesn't keep any tires? Doesn't knock any of the parts off?
Doesn't look like it. He 100% sends it over for parts. Sometimes they put the cars back together on the other side. They weld them back together.
Does he cut it in half the long way or the short way?
The short across the seat, I guess you could say. So you have the front and back end.
Well, we don't have. I mean, this does not sound like parking to me because parking means you drive in, you drive out. I think the only thing you can do with an unregistered car is store it. Do we have
Cut it in half.
sorry?
You can cut it in half and ship it also.
Well, you can cut it in half and ship it. Is it cut, shipped, packed and everything in one day, or are there half cars hanging out around this place?
I would imagine it takes more than a day to do all that. I mean, when I was in there one time, I saw one half of a car there, the other half wasn't there. So I'm safe to say they cut it in half, they packaged it up and shipped off the back end, and the front end was still there. That I imagine he had to continue working on and package up and ship out.
And the cars, if they're stored overnight or whenever for that kind of a thing, are they inside the building or outside?
Outside. Wait a minute. After they get packaged up?
Well, let's say, it gets to the end of the day, they cut a car in half, they have to continue working on it the next day.
It's inside. That's inside. That's inside.
Right. And then if cars are packaged up and waiting, they're packaged up and waiting outside.
No, I would say they're waiting at the loading dock inside.
All right. Jose, do we have a reg that allows for the storage of unregistered cars outside?
Good question.
I couldn't find one. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't do a huge search.
I'm just trying to think if there's any instance, and I mean, other than auto dealers and yeah. Pardon, Barry? Go ahead.
I think town council beat that to death a couple of months ago, didn't they? That question about unlicensed cars.
Was that the one on Blue Hills Ave that they were working on?
Yeah, the ones and the ones in on Covent Street, that neighborhood down there.
Yeah. Well, I guess what I would say is if you think that we want to get more answers on how these are stored, I guess we could approve the site plan for the retail in the front and then ask the applicant to submit an application for a special permit for the outside storage, and go over that at our July meeting and get some more answers. Or either that or just table this whole thing till July.
The rest of the plan seems fine to me.
Yeah.
But this car stuff doesn't seem, I can't find a basis for it in the regs.
I would be open to tabling things till next month when we can get some definitive answers from him, because these are operational questions that are important to the commission. And I don't want to mislead you in any direction, accidentally. He's been doing the business. Fortunately, he's been in contact with Mike Casilla about a lot of this over the past few months. So he's not just sitting there waiting and waiting. If he can continue to at least operate under a whatever order he has from Mike Casilla, he would be happy with that. And we can come back next month with answers to these questions, and you will have paper prints in your hand that are updated per the wetland approval, which show the modified parking layout, some of the issues brought to us by Jose Geiner, et cetera. There'll be 99% what you would be approving. So, but what I'm saying is another month, I don't think would be detrimental to what he's doing there right now.
All right, is the commission in concurrence with that? Do it this way. Can someone make a motion to table it until the July meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I guess as part of the preparation, I would like a better understanding of the storage versus parking. And And the
that's part of
unregistered
the-
part, I think everything else, again, I think I'm good with the retail. In general, that's my only hang up.
All right, then let's postpone it a little as moved, and we can clean it all up next month. Any further discussion?
I don't know. This is Michelle, Commissioner Adams. I don't know if it's appropriate, but I would also, just so when they come back, they have everything, the disposal of the hazardous waste, what plans they have as far as if they're gonna, they look like they're asking for the outside vehicle storage, but what is the plan for the hazardous waste collection and recycling, the antifreeze, the oil, whatever leftover fuel, cleanups, that kind of thing. I'm not sure if it fits into this, but that was what I was thinking as well.
Okay.
Anything? Anyone else? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Moving on, we have a request
Thank you for your time
by
tonight.
Land. Pardon me?
I said, thank you for your
I'm
time.
sorry? Oh.
He was saying thank you.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, I realize that. And I was talking right over that. That's okay.
Sorry.
We have a request by Landsley Kathy, site for 3,200 square foot warehouse with outside storage at 21 Northwood Drive. Who's here to make that application?
Tim Kuhn, and I think if he can mute himself and start his video.
Mute, start the video.
Hang on, there's one thing I gotta do on my end, make him co-host so he can share screen. And you're on, Tim.
All right, so I just gotta determine how to share. Oh, there it is, share screen.
And I'll be right back.
Is everybody looking at the existing conditions plan? Am I sharing my screen?
No, you're not sharing.
No,
I don't
I'm
see
not.
it.
No, I'm looking at the submitted.
And I'm pretty sure I gave you permission, so let me just.
Okay, it says, okay, share, hold on. And that's it, share.
There we go.
All right. Okay, I think we're good. Good evening. I'm Tim Kuhn with J.R. Russo and Associates here tonight, representing Landsley Taffy, who is in the office with me as well, the property owner and applicant. The site is a 1 acre site out at 21 Northwood Drive. If you're looking at the plan, Northwood Drive is on the south of the site. It's a long, narrow site. As I mentioned, about an acre. It's zoned restricted industrial, which is I2. It is surrounded by other industrial uses. What you can't really tell from the exhibit is that the majority of the site currently is impervious, a combination of both pavement and millings. There is a small section of trees up on the north end of the site. There's a little hoop house. And there's also a wetland off the site to the north. With regard to drainage, all of the impervious area kind of drains to the front. There's an existing catch basin on the west end of the site, and that catch basin is connected to the existing storm drain system in the street. Let's see if I can do this. All right. This is the proposed plan. What's being proposed is a 3,200 square foot building. We're going to bring in the driveway and have paved parking in the rear of the building, which will accommodate the required 6 parking spaces, as well as 8 spaces for trucks, which is our outdoor storage. A good portion of the existing millings at the rear of the parcel and the front of the parcel are going to be removed. Those areas are going to be replanted as lawn. And what the effect will be a reduction in the impervious coverage from the 86% now to the 60% required in the zone. We will be installing a chain link fence around the sides and the front of the site. This will be equipped with privacy slats to provide the security as well as screening of the outdoor storage at the rear of the building. In response to the staff comments, this exhibit shows some additional plantings, which weren't shown on the original plans that were submitted. We have added some additional street trees up front, so now we have 3 street trees. We've also added some foundation plantings in front of the building. And I'll also mention that as a result of our wetland agent approval, one of the conditions was to provide some additional plantings at the rear of the site in the 50-foot wetland buffer area. So those are shown as well. The existing runoff patterns at the site are going to be maintained, which will be coming to the front. The one thing we're proposing is to replace the existing catch basin with a stormwater treatment unit so that the runoff that is collected now will be treated before it leaves the site, whereas right now it just runs off untreated into the state system. We did receive the wetland agent approval on June 5th, and we also received comments from the town engineer. And his comments essentially were was about landscaping, which we addressed, and his comments really say that the surface out here is required to pave. We traditionally hope that with the millings down, has a lot of millings out there. We were going to remove it from some areas to reuse it. But again, this particular exhibit specified that the town engineer has stated that we have to have asphalt pavement. The other issue that he had brought up was the post, which has also been added, that all pins and monuments be set by the construction. Those changes, I believe, we addressed the town engineer's comments, and pretty straightforward site plan. We're here to answer any questions you may have.
All right, Jose, any comments?
I believe you have our memo. This again is
Right.
and it was a response to I guess Mike sending a notice of violation. Hang on, I'm having some issues with my screen here. All right. Other than that, you know, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Anyone on the commission with questions?
I think I have a couple. Again, it pertains to the storage of trucks, and would it be trucks or truck bodies on the site?
He has these spaces which would accommodate tractor trailers in the back. And he also does work on dump truck bodies. He does on the frames for dump trucks.
So that would there be work on the vehicles in the warehouse, or?
Yeah, the work is all done inside.
And what kind of work is done inside?
Right. He repairs and replaces frames.
Okay. Is there any outside storage of vehicle parts or unrepaired vehicles?
No.
So anything that would be stored outside would be operative working vehicle?
Yes. He's feeding me the answers right here.
And then are you storing in the back? You've got a parking area for 6 tractor trailers.
I believe 8. 8, yes.
8.
Yeah.
Would that be the whole tractor trailer? Would it be just the cab part or the body part, or would you be storing truck bodies?
It could be the whole complete thing.
And it could be the parts?
It could be just the tractor as well.
All right, and everything would be registered? Operative?
Yeah, they would be.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, well, I guess really what I'm getting at is we're not going to be storing parts and broken or non-operative vehicles in this location?
No, and the frames that he replaces, he's already mentioned to me that he calls the people before he even takes the place off so that they come and get it right away, so he doesn't have the rusted frame that he just replaced lying around.
Okay. Does he run into any sort of environmentally sensitive waste inside the when he's doing the work on the vehicles inside the warehouse?
Like what?
Oils,
I
salt?
don't believe so.
It's below you.
Right, if there's a spill or something like that, he'll have a spill kit inside and get rid of the material in accordance with the regulations. Actually, one of the wetland agent's conditions of approval was that we're to provide just a note explaining the spill cleanup procedures on the plan, if there's any in the building. So we'll be doing that as well.
So you would do it with the kitty litter kind of spill kit and sweep it up? Is that?
And or absorbents, that type of thing. Yeah, doesn't expect to have any significant spills. It'd be drippings and stuff like that.
Does he do any painting or any coating treatments in there?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Did we lose Barry? I think we lost Barry. Byron, you want to continue on? Can you all hear me?
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't see Barry on here, so if we're on commissioner questions.
Okay. Is there any other questions by the commissioners? Dan?
No, I'm done. Thanks, Byron.
Steve?
All set. Thank you.
Michelle?
No question.
Dwight?
No questions. I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. And I don't have any questions either.
I'm all set too, Byron.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did not see you. Katie, I'm sorry.
We lost her for a second. I don't know what happened, but
I think I became an attendee.
I noticed that and I restored you. So
Thank you.
sometimes you click on something with an applicant, but the things move before the click. So inadvertently, I think I added. It's not an exact science. I think Barry just is rejoining us. So,
Any questions, Katie?
I'm all set. I really like the additional plantings.
Okay. Any further
Byron,
presentation by, oh, Dan, you want some?
yeah, there's one question I forgot to ask. Is there any outside lighting?
No, there would be just hand lights on the building.
Okay.
and for the record, Barry Burson's rejoined us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Out the door.
Yeah, so we had Byron take over temporarily.
He's capable.
Definitely.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, are we ready to have a motion for Mr. Taffy, or is there something else that we're probably on the application at this point?
I think we're just we're done with commissioner questions. So commissioner comments, I believe we're on.
And we'll entertain a motion for approval.
I make a motion to approve the request. Oh, hold on, I got the wrong one. Okay, I lost my spot here. Sorry about that. Okay, so someone else might want to do it. I lost
Sure, Byron, I have it if you
oh,
want.
okay, I'm sorry, I got it.
There you go.
Yeah, sorry about that. I
Cool,
make a
cool.
motion. We okay?
Yep.
Yeah, go-
Okay. I make a motion to approve the request by Lansley Taffy for a site plan approval for a 3,200 square foot warehouse with outside vehicle storage at 21 Northwood Drive in the I2 zone. This approval is subject to conformance with the reference plans as may be required to be modified. The representations made on the record and the following conditions stated in the memo dated June 18th, 2020 by the Planning and Zoning Director.
have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Any abstentions? Chair votes aye.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Mr. Guiner,
Yeah, hang on,
Let
let me
me-
just clean up a couple of things.
sure. We'll hear your street policy discussion.
Yeah, hang on.
Have a good evening.
Okay,
Thank-
again, I think I sent everybody an email this afternoon, just sort of framing the discussion. I don't anticipate that we're going to be able to discuss it very much, but just I had been asked by the chair of the town council's land use and economic development subcommittee, which is reviewing the proposed changes to our proposed policy. Wouldn't be a change, it would be a new policy regarding complete streets. As you may know, a lot of towns have adopted these type of policies, which basically say that they try to promote the consideration of complete street design, such as traffic calming, and by complete streets, you mean making the streets available to all different types of transportation, both transit, bicycle, pedestrian, trying to include those and not just making them automobile centric. So last year, the town undertook a study, which has been posted on our webpage for a few months now. And I think way back when I sent everybody a link, and at this time, what resulted was a draft policy for town's consideration. Now, the Economic Development Commission looked at it, they thought it was a little bit too proscriptive and had their own alternate policy, which stripped down the draft policy quite a bit. So the chair of the Land Use and Education Subcommittee asked if the commission had any formal comment, and I said, I don't know whether you really had a chance to discuss this, but I would put it on the agenda and report back to them. I don't think we're under any big hurry. Typically, this type of policy would come into play during the capital improvements discussions. If somebody were to propose, let's say, $1 million renovation of a system, they would, at that point, you would hope that they would include some type of things like bike lanes, and perhaps bus stops and things like that in the plan. So it's not just an automobile-centric type of capital improvement, and that also, I think, would strengthen our hand with CONDOT when they made major renovations, and they've been fairly supportive in other towns of these type of including these type of things, and when they did a major renovation or a major reconstruction. So if you could take a look at that policy, I'll send along the one that the EDC proposed, and also if you could go on the webpage on the link that I provided in that email, and just there's a bunch of documents. There was a lot of public participation involved with that. So and maybe we can have a better discussion at the July meeting.
All right. Anyone have any questions? Comments? Moving on, planners report, project updates.
Yeah, the town hall sort of semi-open. I mean, it's open. It's open to everybody. We've been on, except for the meetings like tonight where I'm doing from home because I have a better setup here than I do at work. I don't have a camera or a microphone at work. We've been working out of the office now for 2 weeks, and well, no, 3 weeks staff and 2 weeks open to the public. So we're doing it mostly by appointment, but I did have, like today, I must have 3 walk-ins, but it's a very controlled environment. I liken it to almost like a prison environment because you have to check it, you have to check in, you have to be escorted. The indoor lot, you can come into the lobby, but the doors that lead both to the council chamber side and to our office side are locked, and you have to have a fob to come in. And then if you still want, we have plexiglass all over the counters. So if you do meet with us on the counter, that little conference room I have outside my office also has a plexiglass in the middle, which reminds me of when we're, the two reminds me like we're talking to a prisoners, and just across a plexiglass window. So, but things, it seems to be working out okay. It's a very busy season for the rest of town hall because it's taxes are due, so we get a steady stream of visitors wanting to pay their taxes in person. Other than that, I just want to update you that I did speak with Mr. Butler regarding how he's going along with his plans for the town center apartments, and it looks like he will be ready to at least get a building permit by the end of the summer, September. That's his plans right now. He's going ahead with that. He had a little bit of a glitch with phase 2. There was a potential developer which pulled out for various unspecified reasons, but he's also planning to go ahead with that and possibly have a detailed site plan into you for your review probably by October or November on that. So that, go ahead.
Is that on Bloomfield Avenue or on Jerome?
The Bloomfield Avenue you've already approved. So that's the one. Bloomfield Avenue is going to be coming in for building permits. I think they're getting the construction drawings ready.
Talk about Avenue.
Yeah, the Bloomfield Avenue one, the one across, and the Jerome one is the one that was originally phase 2, which will really come in third. That one is where I'm saying the potential developer pulled out. So
thank you
on that, and I don't know, but I've been having. I guess the apartments must, as mentioned today on the previous meeting on the corporate crossing, you have a potential apartment project going there. You have the one that came in on Jolly Drive last month, and you got the Alexandria Manor, and there's others that have been coming in and talking to me about potentially doing apartments. And I've been attending some webinars. I guess that's still a strong market. So apparently, for whatever reasons, but it doesn't seem to be slowing down, and no one really knows at what point will that slow down. So we expect more applications on a couple other properties that are sort of in the talking stages right now.
Good. Sounds good. Is that it?
That's it, unless you have some questions about any specific projects that, at one point looked like the Thai Palace was going to go out of, we were told was closing down for good. And we had confirmed that with the leasing agent and everything else. But this week I saw a sign saying reopening soon, and I happened to catch the owner coming out of the side door, and he said they were working on the interior and he was going to give it another try. Let's see if he can recover from this shutdown that was basically he had to endure during the COVID crisis. So hopefully they'll do well.
He go back to his outdoor dining.
Yeah, we'll see. Not too many in town took advantage of that because I don't think there was a lot of room in some of the places. I know Republic, I think, still is closed. I don't think The only ones that did anything was the breweries.
Carbone is open.
And Carbone's is open, but I'm saying before the full opening, when they were able to open outside, I don't think
Right.
there was any restaurants. And actually Becky's Brewery she just got their final CO. If anybody wants to go out and check out their new their new tap room and outdoor patio, they just got CO'd last week. So definitely stop by and take a look. It's really a nice facility now.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
I have one person. You mind if I share that, or should I wait until we adjourn?
You can.
Oh, I just wanted to make sure everyone had heard the news of Mark Jacobs passing and had the opportunity to reach out to his wife Nilda or the family, if you knew them, to share your sympathy. That's all.
Yes, we might as well add Gus Wallet to that too. He was briefly on the commission too.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, Gus died last week.
Oh.
Motion to adjourn.
Have we adjourned?
Someone? Second?
Stephen.
Second.
All in favor may leave or shut off. What are you going to do? Thank you all. Stay
Good
safe.
guys.
All right.
Okay, you too,
Good night,
Mr.
everyone.
Chairman.
Like.
Yes.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.